Psalm 92. Pretty much squeezed all the blood out of the turnip that I can on verse 1. It is good to give thanks to the Lord, to sing praises to the Most High. Then in verse 2, it is good to proclaim your unfailing love in the morning, your faithfulness in the evening, accompanied by a 10-stringed instrument, a harp, and the melody of a lyre. Well, let's go with verse 2. It is good to proclaim your unfailing love in the morning and your faithfulness in the evening. I told you this before. The morning and evening are the two most important times in anybody's day. How the day begins and how it ends. This is especially true, I think, for kids. When a kid's day starts with all kinds of disruption and conflict and a bad breakfast or an unnourishing breakfast, it kind of sets the day up to go not very well. And when the end of the day is about conflict and disagreement and, that kind of goodness, that bookends a bad day. And it's not the end of the world for a kid, but consider that when the day starts with love, and when there's a breakfast that's nourishing and balanced, when the day starts in a way that the kid doesn't have to just run to get to school or to whatever's next, when there are margins, that's a great start for the day, emotionally and physically for the kid. In an ideal world, we do this every day, but we don't live in an ideal world, and sometimes you just can't pull it off. Okay. I think most of the people who watch this are grandparents and not raising kids at the moment. But if you are a grandparent, then when you're around your grandkids, kind of cherish the morning with them and cherish the bedtime, the evening with them. One of the ways to make the most of the morning and the evening is to build in margins. Well, I can tell you, I've already said this a bunch of times. I am not I would like to be a morning person. I am not. Honest to goodness, part of it is I don't get to sleep easily. It takes me, go to bed at 10 o'clock and I'm still awake at midnight. So, of course, getting up early then is hard for me. But when I get up earlier, for me, to provide a margin, it helps my day. As a kid, I was not a morning person at all then either. But my mom, in wisdom, would get me up. She didn't let me leave the house without breakfast. And so I don't know that anybody taught her the concept, but she gave margin so that I didn't have to be, jump out of bed, throw my clothes on, and hurry out the door. That came later in college. When there's margin, almost nothing in your life suffers, and almost everything is helped. So morning and evening. But what about now? You know, our kids, most of us, our kids are up and gone. So, but okay. How about you? David, or the psalmist, I don't think it was David. If it was David, it would be in the heading, right? And then there's no author assigned here. It is good to proclaim your unfailing love in the morning. How do you proclaim God's unfailing love? Anytime. To proclaim means to tell and tell about. Tell about God's unfailing love in the morning. Well, I'm gonna say the one I need most often to tell this to is me. I have a horrible memory. I have a terrible memory of God's unfailing love. And I need to proclaim it to myself every morning. I do it. It's wrong for me to leave the impression I do this every morning. I don't. I wish I would. And I'm going to make it an effort from here. But when I do this, in the past, it's been in my journal to remind myself of God's unfailing love. For love to be unfailing, it means it never fails. What does it never fail? Well, God's unfailing love is not about me getting everything I ask for. No. It's about His love never going away, never being conditioned on my behavior or attitude. Or God's unfailing love, it never fails, it never goes away. It's never in hiding. Well, so when I remind myself, when I proclaim to myself that God's love is unfailing, one of the ways to do that is to reflect on when I last experienced His love. And sometimes, for me, I think this would be true for a lot of people, I have experienced His love and really I haven't even noticed it. So reflecting on the day past and identifying the times when God's love intersected with my life. This is good for me. It is good. Well, in verse 1 it says, it is good to give thanks to the Lord. It is good to proclaim your unfailing love in the morning. It's good because it's morally good and it is practically good. If I can set my day up in the beginning, or as close to the beginning as I can, which that for me means I got to get dressed and I got to have a cup of coffee. And that's when my heartbeat starts, right? So that's when it's good. It's good for me to proclaim God's unfailing love in the morning. And I proclaim your faithfulness in the evening. Can you see how in the morning I'm looking for evidence of the times God's love has shown up and reminding myself of that. And in the evening, reflect back on the day to identify God's faithfulness. I think so, I kind of said it before, but there are a lot of times I'm looking for God's faithfulness, or I think I'm looking for God's faithfulness when what I'm looking for is, how often do I get from God what I want? Well, you know what? You know this, right? I mean, anybody with life experience knows it. Sometimes the greatest gift God gives us is not giving us what we want. And there are other times when he does, just because of his unfailing love and his grace and his mercy. But God's faithfulness, who do we proclaim his faithfulness to? I suppose in an ideal setting, I would proclaim it to whoever I am either preparing to go to bed with, or the person I'm going to bed with. In my case, that'd be my wife, Debbie. It's just an idea. If you're married, before you go to bed, maybe, and this will require an adjustment of schedule for everybody I know, that you would just press a pause button and say to each other, so how's God been faithful today? And then you think about it, and then you share with each other your experiences of God's faithfulness. When I remind myself in the morning of his unfailing love, and in the evening of his faithfulness, those are the best bookends to any day. There are days when, I got to be up and headed for the airport at 4 in the morning. Well, I'm not likely to, formalize this ritual. There are days where the way life happens, the bookending the morning with God's unfailing love, in the evening with his faithfulness, it just might not work. There's not a law, but it is good. And so I want to recommend that you think about and ponder, how could you, because I got to do this for myself, start the day by proclaiming to myself God's unfailing love, and I finish the day by proclaiming to myself, and maybe to someone else, his faithfulness in that day. It's a good way to launch and finish every day. Well, congratulations. You're getting a couple extra minutes of your life back, because I'm done. I'll see you next time on So Care with Stevie Boy.